We all know Steven Seagal movies, you gotta go see him. He got a cult following, and I was a part of it. So it was more of a infatuation with man, I felt like a little groupie. I'm like, I'm working with Steven Seagal. You know what's up with that?
Hey, Mark.
Today You Die is a story about kind of a high-end thief.
And he has somebody is like a close friend, a spiritual advisor that's letting him know he needs to get off of that path or he's not going to last too long.
He gets a job as a driver on what looks like a legit job in Vegas, and it turns out he's on a heist.
And he gets set up by these sort of mafioso types as a fall guy, and winds up taking the fall and going to jail.
And behind it are a series of very nasty characters, a kind of hierarchy of evil.
Police corruption involved, and this, that, and the third, and a lot of other elements that really had him like just pigeonholed in there to be the one to take the blame for the whole thing when he was really knew nothing about it.
While in jail, he learns about this whole setup, which he didn't know about, and vows to himself that he will get out and avenge himself and clear his name.
You know, some kind of talking to him, it's almost like, you know, in real street riddle, you going, geez, be trying to understand you.
You want to jump a cattle battle? What?
Mm-hmm. And that could be very funny to the audience. You know, like almost, you know, one step beyond Snoop, you know.
Mm-hmm. Pajama Mama on Pico Pimpin'? What? Sneeze losing on a Sunset Stripper? What? Oh, you don't know G-Bonic? Nigga, I said good night.
That would be hilarious.
Steven is very giving as an actor and constantly wants to make the movie better.
And he had some ideas, some very good ideas about, you know, how the characters should progress.
Yeah, I came to America as a writer, and I write almost everything I do, or rewrite it, or co-write it, or something.
He really visualized, you know, the opportunity this gave him to make the type of film, which is you know, I don't want to say typical, but a prototypical Steven Seagal film.
In the Aikido community, we knew about him because he was the first one to have a dojo in Japan. And then by a fluke of destiny, you know, he became a movie star.
I've noticed that he's very focused. I was looking forward to seeing some of his stunts. I'm very curious about the Aikido.
One of the things that I do know, even though I only studied for 5 years, is that if you were to study that particular discipline for any period of time, you can do almost anything. Act, write, paint, whatever. Because the training is so utterly immense.
Some actors will just show up, you know, and do their job and do it great. But Steven's, you know, he's a producer, he's a director, he's a writer, he's also an actor, you know. So when you get Steven Seagal, you get everything.
I studied every aspect of filmmaking that I could, and I tried to learn everything I could about every aspect of filmmaking. That was not so that I could have more power as much as it was so that I could have a better chance to make a better film.
Unless you're a tried and true professional, don't try this at home.
Tell me, where's Max?
When you do what I'm doing, which is stunt coordinating, you cannot be good in everything. As long as I know enough to know what I can reach for and what I can put on film, then my job is done. It's no big deal.
When you have someone like Dickie, who has, you know, probably 50 films under his belt, you know, shot all over the world, nothing is impossible.
We knew what we wanted, or what was written in the script, and talking with Steven is like 10-minute talk, like this is what's in the script, we have 2 or 3 or 4 guys, and how do you want to play this? And then he looks at it, he walks through it, and then he goes, okay, I can do this here, I can do that there, and they're all these fantastic, like very, very quick moves, but he knocks people out like nobody's business.
I don't really have a process. I just have studied the martial arts all my life, and when I look at a situation, I think of what I would do in that situation, and that's what helps me choreograph my fights.
Mike Smith as the assistant stunt coordinator, and he's a martial artist, so he's a specialist in martial arts. And him and Stephen work together really well, and you know, he comes up with ideas, and sometimes Stephen takes them and uses them, and sometimes he goes like, no, it's not really my style, and then he goes with something else. But as soon as the fights start, then Mike is there and he controls all that. When I'm around, I'll just look over his shoulder and be there, and if I see something that could be different, then I ask him to change it into something that looks better, and then, you know, it works that way. But it's still a communication between Stephen, Mike, and myself, and then it's just a matter of putting the cameras in the right place and sell it on film.
Hell yeah! Now you a gangster! Yo, let's go!
Tretch, who a lot of people will know from his work on in the band, the rap band, Naughty by Nature. He's a very talented musician, but aside from that, he's also an extremely talented actor, and brings to the table a lot of the urban flavor we were seeking for this production.
It's a beautiful thing too when you work with a script and you work with writers and producers and everything that's open for change and stuff.
He's also helped us in that, you know, as a producer, I'm always unsure of how the language and the dress and that whole kind of subculture, the rap subculture, is supposed to look.
Street lingo that was written like wouldn't be said, or it's just certain elements of it just wasn't in there, you know. So just being able to go and have the blueprint and then put your own stuff up in there and knowing what's out there, it's just it's like a lift for everybody, because it's like you come in every day and it's like, okay, we know how the story is and everything else, but what's going to be different? Like, you could read a script to a movie, but then see it and it's totally different. And it's kind of like this. It's like the blueprint is there, but it's like, yo, we just bring in the street vibe, the street lingo.
And that's allowed us to give the project, you know, a flavor of authenticity, really, which we wouldn't otherwise have.
I still don't understand why we're involved. I play Agent Knowles, a DEA. She's a drug enforcement officer. I think she's very eager to please, and, you know, she's in a man's world, so she's really attempting to do her job thoroughly. And the appeal for me is that I love the character. I love how it's written. I like the combination between, you know, the difference between Nick's character and my character. You know, the good cop, bad cop thing, but you don't really know that throughout the whole movie. And I love how he's forming his character, so, you know, I'm putting together my character as I go as he's doing it.
So the trick was try to come up with something that was a little different, because you've seen this guy a lot. The corrupt DEA agent, the corrupt, you know, whatever. And inevitably you have no idea why they behave the way they do. You know, the purpose and the function of the actor is to try to give it some kind of, you know, a reason to be. So I hope I've achieved that.
I've been watching him, the way he's been spinning his web and building his character, and I think we really play really well off each other. We have a great chemistry, I think. I mean, it's embarrassing to say that, but I feel like it's really good casting.
I decided I'd make him a bit of a kind of obsessive, compulsive, nasty piece of work that probably, you know, doesn't like the fact, he doesn't like being where he is.
He's a guy who pushes our hero to the brink, so to speak. And so we were looking for an actor who could really play a strong role. I mean, let's face it, Steven Seagal is a big, tough guy, and you need an actor who is equally strong and physical to be able to pull that off.
You know, I just saw him as a guy who's been locked and compartmentalized in this kind of bureaucratic space surrounded by all these rules, laws, and obligations, who basically looks around and says, you know, these guys are making billions of dollars. I want a piece of the action. and basically drops his whole ethical code.
It's better than the sound stage, you know what I mean? These cages clank, you know what I mean? It's the guards, they in uniforms that's from wardrobe, but they look like guards. You know what I mean? We up in here all day long and can't leave. You feel like you in jail, you know? So it makes you really get in the character. The whole vibe, you see the whole thing. I worked on Oz before, so that type of thing is a wonderful thing. It's not like just going into a reading where you in a four walls up in there and you reading with somebody that's reading the lines. And this is really when you walk in here in the morning, when you driving up past the sheriffs and everything else and through the gates, you like, man, I'm in the joint.
I always find when you're in a real location that things feel a different way. So therefore, you don't have to, you know, when you're on a set, you have to imagine that you're, you have to use your imagination and use your sensory work a lot more.
We got 70, 80 extras here, and then they got fight scenes, and just seeing they wait around all day, and then when they finally do it, they jumping all over and screaming, can't even hit cut. It's just, you want to see all of it. You want to, even if you're not in the scene, you want to just be a part and see what's going on, because it's like the energy level is so ill, even if it's a calm scene.
Initially, we had a few concerns about, you know, having a director who was a DP, mainly because I know on a show this size, just to do, you know, a director of photography job is a huge job in and of itself, and then you put that on top as the directing job, and I had to wonder how we were going to pull it off and how Don Fauntleroy was going to pull it off. But now that we're into the shoot, boy, I see how he's doing it. What he already has laid out in his mind is the look of the film, and that's worked to his advantage, because unlike a lot of directors who have to spend the time to either argue or convince the DP of how something should be shot, Don knows exactly how it's going to be shot.
I can't be behind the cameras. He's behind it. He knows what it looks like on there, and anytime he come to tell me, okay, do it, you did it like this, try it like this, or do it like, I'm all for all of that. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, when they watching the dailies and they seeing they could pick the best things, at the end of the day, it's gonna make me look as good as possible. You know what I mean? So I have no problem with anything. Like certain ways, I might think like, yo, I would really do this like that. And then he'll say, you know what? Why don't you do this like that? Then I'll go like, yeah, it'd be better to do it like that. So just being open to that and doing that, he's making me look better. So hats off, definitely.
Steven trusts him implicitly in the way it's going to be shot, so it makes his job as a director much easier, because you're not dealing with so many different parties.
Harlan, you can't kill the whole world.
I'm not planning on killing the whole world. Just those people trying to kill me.
I love to watch something where you have to figure out who the bad guy is.
Of course, you always love the shootouts. You love to see the cars exploding.
Guys falling off rafters, you know, 2-3 stories. We have cop cars flipping. We had a warehouse completely disintegrating in a ball of fire.
It's a lot of drama, it's a lot of action. It's a comical side to it, just like real life, and it's real suspenseful. So this is going to be one that people are going to talk about for a long time.
Lord have mercy.
Have you ever thought about anger management?
Yes, sir, I have, but this one better.
Maybe right. Didn't say you were right, but maybe right.
But one or the other, man, was fun.